so bad. Not so bad. I think we have laws anyway. Look, to implement incitement to violence anyway, right? So look, anybody who breaks the law, anybody who goes outside the boundaries of the law, the book should be thrown at them. There's no two ways about it. The law is there to implement. But I mean, that goes for both sides. I mean, meaning whichever side you're from, whichever side you want to support. I mean, you can be vocal. There's obviously liberal democracies there, but obviously within the confines of the law. But at the same time, you see, we can't have double standards. On the one side, we say, yes, everybody should act within the law. But then we're giving impunity we're supporting Israel, where they've got impunity for every international law in the book. Every Geneva Convention they're breaking every international law. They're going outside the boundaries of humanity, of morality, of decency, of honesty, of integrity. And many times they've stated genocidal.
There's a case in South Africa which is alleging all these things, but I think it's a rather dodgy prospectus. And by the way, they are fighting a terror group who, on October the 7th, went into Israel and committed a mass pogrom of the size and magnitude that we hadn't seen since the end of the Second World War. So this is a sovereign nation that's going in and destroying Hamas, not civilians, not expressly going out and killing civilians. That's what's going on here, Abdulah.
No, I don't think so, Johnny. Look, if you look at the facts, look how many civilians have been killed. There's thousands of children, thousands of women being killed. There's been children maimed. Even yesterday, a 9-year-old was pulled out after 10 days or so. They were saying
thousands of civilians are being killed. That is true. We are on that. However, the numbers are, and look, even one civilian death is bad. It's all bad. But apparently, in a desperate urban warfare situation, there are something like 15,000 Hamas terrorists who've been killed or removed. 18 of the 24 battalions have been removed, and it's now down to their last stand in Rafah, which for some reason America is trying to stymie and stop. For whatever reason, Israel cannot finish the job of killing the terrorists, which means that around 10 to 15,000 civilians have been killed as well. Now, that is not a good figure. However, it is a ratio of 1 to 1. And if you look at other wars that have been fought in the 21st century, the ratio is somewhere between 4 civilians to 1 combatant and up to even 9 to 1, Abdulah. I think we have to try and discuss this properly within the context of facts. It's really important, Abdulah.
No, of course it's important. I'm saying the facts are, look, children have been killed, women have been killed, people have been maimed, children have been killed every single day.
It's really bad. I'm not saying it's good, but Hamas are terrorists, okay? And they committed a terrible crime, and they've been committing crimes for the last 15 years since Israel withdrew unilaterally from Gaza and they won that election. They've been lobbing rockets into Israel ever since, and Israel's kind of sort of tolerated it and dealt with it, but finally kicking that can into the future ended up with a pogrom, ended up with 1,120 Israelis and Thai workers and Filipinos and Arabs in Israel being murdered.
But Johnny, if we say if we have that same principle, we apply that same principle, we are infuriated by that. We should be. Any innocent life is appalling, and we should all unite against the loss of any innocent life. So likewise, the tens of thousands that have been killed, over millions have been. Over a couple of million been displaced from their homes. Their homes have been taken, erased completely to the ground. Mm-hmm. So surely, if we have that same morality, if we have the same humanity, if we have the same decency, we should all be calling out, that we should all be condemning Israel's actions, the way they've gone about this.
And on that number, I mean, it's not reported, but 200,000 Israelis are displaced in Israel. Yeah, okay, yeah, right, yeah, okay. Now, this is a serious point here, okay, and it's the same thing, okay? So a lot of Gazans have been pushed into Rafah, okay? That is true. I understand that. Israel is looking at getting them out before destroying Hamas. It's being stymied by Biden's administration in America for whatever reason. There is also, in Israel, 200,000 Israelis, not just in the south, but in the north as well, who've been pushed into the centre of the country because at the moment they can't live there because of the rockets that are coming over and the potential for invasion again from Hamas and Hezbollah. Now, the problem with that is, Abdullah, that the jihadists, that the terrorists, that Iran are telling Israelis where they can live inside their sovereign country. And that is totally morally and politically wrong. And the second thing is that most of the eggs that are produced in Israel come from the north, and most of the tomatoes that Israel eats come from the south. So there is a food security issue as well. So you have to balance and look at this. And we don't hear these things enough.
Yeah, but Johnny, the Gazans are being starved to death. Forget eggs and tomatoes. They haven't got they've been eating animal fodder for the past, animal feed, and been grinding that. There's
a lot of Gaza which is being operated normally. I urge you to go to the Twitter feed of Imshin, IMSHIN. There's a lot of Gaza that has not been affected directly. Of course, it's a small country and the war is omnipresent, but there is still an operating country. And what I would say is, why isn't Egypt getting involved in humanitarian aid? Why isn't it being pushed through the Rafah border? There are two borders. There's Kerem Shalom in the north, and there is the Rafah in the south, which is the Egyptian border.
Yeah, but Johnny, Israel still controls and dictates what can go in even from that border. Israel is dictating what goes in, what goes out, and in fact, even the Israel citizens, they're blocking that aid as well. They're on the road. They're trying to stop the aid going in. There's so many things going on, Johnny. What I'm saying, look, if we have any decency, realistically, we should be calling out for this to end, regardless, right, at this moment in time.
I agree. I would like the war to end tomorrow, okay, but I think we're probably on a slightly different page about how it should end. So people like Sadiq Khan and the various other Labour politicians are saying ceasefire now. That is an invitation for Hamas to do, again, what they did on October the 7th, okay? So that's non-negotiable. Sinwar said it wherever he is hiding. He might be hiding in Egypt, he might be hiding in a tunnel, who knows? But he has said there'll be an October the 8th, an October the 9th, an October the 10th, an October the 1000th. They will do it again because that's the Hamas charter. So we can't have a ceasefire. However, what Israel's saying, it's very, very clear, we can have a ceasefire if you return the 134 hostages. Tragically, some are dead. Okay, some are dead. We know that. But 134 hostages, including the body, should be returned home immediately, and Hamas should lay down their arms, and literally the war would end.
Johnny, you've got to look at this October the 7th happened as a what do you call it? A result of actions of decades. You've got to understand this. And many thousands have been locked up. They've been taken hostage, you can say, by Israel.
Well, let's use proper words. The prisoners. The Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails are not hostages. They are prisoners.
Johnny,
they are convicted criminals.
No, Johnny, let's be factual. Look, if you ever watch Al Jazeera as well, I watch news from all different channels, even on the IDF have gone into homes, picked up whoever they want, and one girl, for example, 19-year-old girl was taken. The mother was explaining this, that they took out. They said, "Why are you taking me?" They said, "Look, we're just going to take you, and when our hostages are released, you can be released." That's it. Nothing else. She didn't committed no crime whatsoever. This is happening on a daily basis, every single day.
We don't know that. We don't know exactly that case. We don't know that.
No, but Johnny, I'm telling you.
The problem is that we are exposed to so much different media, and that's the Catherine story. I know it's more trivial than this. This is very serious, but we are exposed in a fracturing media environment which is spoiled actually by social media, by stories like this. I don't know 100% that happened, but what I do know is that it's based upon the idea that, Gilad Shalit, do you remember the Israeli soldier who was taken hostage by Hamas inside Israel? Their tunnels came out inside the Israeli border, right? So they took Gilad Shalit, who was a kind of reservist, a kind of a soldier who had to fight. He's not a regular guy. He's a guy who had to fight, not a particularly skilled soldier. And he was taken. They found out he was alive, and I think they released 1,000 Palestinian prisoners because of it, like 1,000.
Johnny, the thing is, look, thousands of Palestinians in the Israeli prisons. Obviously, their families are all crying out for them to be released, regardless how they were taken. If they were criminals, by all means, that's a different thing. That's a different story. But many thousands are in there. You look it up yourself. Ask any journalist, any part of any UN organization. They will explain to you as well. But my point is, look, it's not just about 7th of October. That was a result of decades of action. When you keep on suppressing people and dictating to them how they live their life, if you keep it, even any individual, they will react. They will have a resist to that at some point.
Sure, but one thing's for sure: give peace a chance. Stop killing Israelis. Okay, stop going into Tel Aviv and setting off a suicide bomb. Stop knifing people in the markets. I guarantee you, the war would finish.
No, Johnny,
the war would finish.
Johnny, that wouldn't.
Yeah, it really would. The war would finish. Israel is a peaceable nation. It's fighting a defensive battle against jihadists.
Johnny, every single day, right? Even now, so many illegal settlements have been approved in the West Bank. They're dissecting the West Bank more and more and more and more, so that a two-state solution is not going to happen.
There are three zones in the West. Look, I'm sorry, Matt. I just want to. It's really important that we use the right language here. There are three zones in the West Bank, okay, which is the Jordanian name because it's a geographical part of what was Jordan, okay? But again, that's disputed, okay? So we won't discuss that at the moment. But it's called Judea and Samaria as well to many Jewish people because it is the birthplace of Judaism. And the word Judaism comes from Judea and Samaria. Jews are from Judea. So there are three zones in the West Bank, okay? There's Zone A, Zone B, and Zone C. Zone A is under the Palestinian Authority control. Zone P is controlled by the elders of a sort of Palestinian hegemony and nominally by the Palestinian Authority. And Zone C is under Israeli control, okay? So we have to try and plot this conversation within facts on the ground.
Yeah, but how many roadblocks have been set up since South Africa? They're controlling the movement of every Palestinian in the West Bank.
They need to stop people coming into Israel to kill them. Because before October the 7th, okay, this is unbelievable, but 18,000 Gazans were allowed into Israel every day to work, including people who worked on the kibbutzes, okay? So the people that were killed on the kibbutzes were killed by people who had family who helped them. It's an absolute treachery of neighbourhood, okay? So these things are being digested by Israeli society, that the idea that there was some Palestinian-Israeli cooperation, particularly in the south, is now over for a generation because they can't do that stuff ever again. That's really sad, Abdulah.
Yeah, but the thing is, look, Johnny, in an ideal world, if you go back to 1967 borders and everybody lives in peace, that's the bottom line. To achieve that, it would have to be that as all international law is stating, those, for example, in the West Bank, they're illegal settlements. And in Gaza as well, everything is controlled by Israel. What goes in, what goes out, who can come in, who can go out. And even the food that goes in, they've got a certain calorie they've set a calorie amount for each person, the amount of food that goes in. And that was before the 7th of October.
Right. Well, so they do have a Jordanian border as well, but I take your point. I don't know whether that's true or not, but they also have, they're not landlocked. The West Bank is not landlocked, okay? And many people would argue that Jordan is also Palestinian. I mean, apart from the Hashemite throne, most of the people under Hashem, the Hashemites, are Palestinian, including some of the Jordanian royal family. Abdulah, listen, I'm very glad that we had a very sane conversation. And, please come back. Let's have a discussion. I appreciate the candidness of the way you're talking, and we will do our very best to continue that dialogue.